Next, on UConn Sports Nation, Rhett Lashlee says UConn's football facilities are nicer than Auburn's. That, and he'll break down the offense he wants to install. And I'll be joined by the Journal-Inquirer's Neill Ostrout to preview Thursday's men's basketball game against Memphis. All that and more, coming up next. Your host, Matt Strombiski. Another midweek edition of UConn Sports Nation, presented by thisisyuconncountry.com. I'm available on iTunes, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And it's a busy week in UConn athletics. The epic 100th consecutive win for the UConn women's basketball team on Monday night, tonight at Rentschler Field. The introduction of Randy Edsall's assistant coaches, including offensive coordinator Rhett Lashlee, defensive coordinator Billy Crocker, and the rest of Edsall's staff. And then the men's basketball game tomorrow night against Memphis, a critical game in which the Huskies can move into fourth place in the AAC. But I want to start with UConn football tonight. Had the chance to talk to every single one of the assistant coaches. I come away very impressed with each and every one of the assistants that he brought in that I was able to speak to. And I'm going to highlight offensive coordinator Rhett Lashlee, who was kind enough to join prior to the fan session for an extended one-on-one interview.
First off, welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
What was the reaction when you got the call to come up this way?
I'd known David Benedict. I'd worked with him for a couple of years down at Auburn, so he and I had a quick visit. Hadn't really thought about it much, but after that, he just got me in touch with Coach Edsall, and we had a really good 45-minute, hour-long conversation. I think after that, I just knew that, he had won here specifically, so he knows what it takes. And just after visiting with him, it just got me excited to have the opportunity to come up here and build this thing and do something special. So we talked a little bit over the next couple of days, and then just kind of things moved forward from there. And just again, it was pretty exciting when it broke.
Coming from the SEC up to the Northeast, what surprised you about coming here to UConn, maybe facilities, stadium?
I was really pleasantly surprised at two things, probably. The facilities are phenomenal. I mean, the football facility we have here is nicer than where I just came from. And, we have a very nice stadium that, we can pack out and have a great home college atmosphere. And the second thing would be the fans. I've had an opportunity already to go watch us win 100 in a row in women's basketball. I guess if we can get to there in football, we've done a pretty good job. And go to a men's game, and just the passion that our fans have for our program has been real welcoming. So I'm excited to get to try to put something on the field out here at the Rent that they're proud of.
Offensively, last in the nation a year ago. What are you hoping to put in place here?
Well, we're hoping to not be last. Score a few more touchdowns, but we're going to have a fun, exciting style offense. We're going to play fast. We're going to play with tempo. We're going to try to spread the field, make teams defend the whole field. We believe in being balanced, and I don't believe balance is necessarily the exact same number of yards or plays and runs and passes. It's the ability to do both well. And if they're giving you the run, take it. If they're giving you the pass, take it, and take what they give you. Just try to make it fun for our guys, something they can believe in, gain some confidence in, and give us a chance to compete and be successful, and hopefully our fans will be proud of it.
You guys were, I think it was 72% run a year ago at Auburn.
Yeah. Was
that indicative of the skill set you had, the types of defense you were going against?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both, but yeah, I think we had a span from game 4 to game 9 when our quarterback was healthy, that by game 9 we were number 1 in the SEC in total offense. We were the number 1 pass efficiency offense and the number 1 rushing offense, and that's that balance I'm talking about. And part of the reason I'm here is, I probably believe in opening things up a little more in the passing game than maybe we've done the last couple of years, so I'm excited to get to do that.
You bring in 3 new quarterbacks, which is the first recruiting class here.
Yeah.
What do you like from the skill set that you're looking for? And maybe not comment individually because you haven't seen them on the field yet.
Right.
But what are you looking for out of a quarterback?
Well, first and foremost, out of the quarterback, I'm looking for a winner and a leader. And, at the end of the day, the number 1 stat for a quarterback is did we win or not? And does he command the respect of his teammates, offense and defensively? Because a lot of times you go as your quarterback goes, period. And so that's first and foremost before you get into your physical abilities. After that, we want to find the guy that's the toughest guy out there that can make the throws we need him to make and can perform well in pressure situations. A lot of times guys that have won before in high school or junior colleges, it carries over. And the ones that haven't, it carries over. we got a lot of options, and that was by design. You know, I know we got some guys returning. Sheriff's played a lot of ball here. Donovan got his feet wet. We got a couple other guys on the team that haven't played, but they're here now. And, you know, we brought in 3 guys that we think fit our need. So a lot of good competition, a lot of good options. We got to find a guy who can lead our team. You know, it doesn't matter if the guy can throw it well, can run it well, do both. At the end of the day, whoever leads our team the best, we're going to build it around what he does best.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome.
Hey, good to meet you.
That was offensive coordinator Rhett Lashlee. After this break, I'll preview UConn and Memphis with the Journal-Enquirer's Neill Ostrout. You're listening to UConn Sports Nation, presented by thisisyouconncountry.com, where you'll find the latest news, game previews, and recruiting when it comes to UConn football. On the UConn Sports Nation hotline is Neill Ostrout of the Journal-Enquirer to help preview tomorrow night's UConn and Memphis game at 9 p.m. at the XL Center. Neill, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Very good, very good. So lots of news on this Wednesday. Wanted to start, though, with the report from John Rothstein, who mentioned sources are indicating UConn has discussed moving all sports except football and hockey potentially to the Big East. Wanted to see if you've heard anything on your end. Even if you haven't, what are your thoughts on what a potential move could mean for the Huskies?
Well, obviously, it would mean a lot. I'm skeptical. That's my default position on most of these things, but I am especially skeptical of this. It's just such a logistical nightmare with football. Obviously, you know, it has them in limbo, and it leaves very options. It's tough to imagine the financial windfall that the university gains while still paying, if they have to pay an exit fee from the American. You know what I mean? It's a wonderfully romantic situation, and it's great nostalgia. And, you know, basketball-wise, it would make some traditional rivalries come alive again, and, you know, it'd be a lot easier geographically for fans, for people like us, travel games, etc. It's just such a hurdle to clear. I'd be surprised if it works out in the end. Now, obviously, I mean, I've heard there have been loose kind of unofficial talks, you know, throughout the intertwining years here. I've heard that there's been nothing close to anything concrete or official as of yet, obviously. And it's my default position, but it's tough for me to see this actually working out in the end. I know that's horrible for most UConn fans to hear. They want it to work out. They want it to be like it used to be. You know, they want a little more memory or geography involved in these rivalries in these basketball games, but it's just such a hurdle. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. But switching over to the men's basketball program, entered tomorrow, they're 5-1 over the last 6 games. What's been the difference that you've seen over this stretch?
The opponents? No, kidding. Okay. Obviously, they've hit games they're supposed to win. They have. They're comfortable for the most part. You know, even the UCF game, which looks, you know, from a distance, win at UCF, a big deal. Well, that was a pretty big deal. UCF is a pretty good team. They're playing well. Been playing very well. Has a lot of good pieces, and that was a big one. That was kind of maybe the first result that was, you know, not expected. That was probably a toss-up, or maybe even a little UConn was on the underdog side. So that was a big win. Obviously, shooting is the key lately. They're making a ton of threes. First can't miss. You know, Patel can't miss. Adams shooting well. That's obviously a big key. You know, rebounding hasn't been behind much. You know, Facey and Barman doing very well. You know, and obviously, and they get the guys back. I mean, even for a minute here or there, Jawan Durham, I mean, he not had the game in largely garbage time, but still getting those guys on the court for 2 minutes, 3 minutes makes a big difference, even if they're not scoring.
Now, injuries have been played a major role in how the season has gone. How have you felt Kevin Ollis handled that injury situation? And do you think some of the younger guys, it took them some more time to really fall into the critical roles that they're really playing this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as the coaching job, I mean, it was kind of an impossible situation. I mean, you're losing, you know, 2 starters, you know, 3 players who are going to play for you. You know, even if you think that only 2 of them play significant minutes, you know, it's kind of an impossible situation. And you're right. It's taken by Cal Jackson to kind of acclimate to their roles, but they're guys with skills. They're guys who can play. You know, they have the ability. They weren't expected to play this much, obviously, right away. Even Vital might not have played, I don't want to say at all, but not very much his first year. But he's turned it on, he's stepped up, and, the old coaching phrase is, to some degree, they're not freshmen anymore. They're veterans.
I'm talking with Neill Ostrout of the Journal-Inquirer. You touched on Rodney Purvis a little bit just a few minutes ago. As the season's gone on, he's really progressed his game. I think he's been shooting, it's 63% from behind the arc the last 6 games. What have you noticed? Have you noticed anything in practice, maybe during games, that he's doing differently that's leading towards this recent performance?
As far as practice, not really. I mean, we don't get to watch too much practice, but he's a guy who lives in the gym. I mean, he's a guy who'll put up shots. They get off a plane at 1 a.m., to get back to campus, and he'll go over and he'll put up shots, for another 45 minutes or so. He's a guy who constantly working on his game. And I think eventually that had to pay off. I mean, he just takes too many shots and works on it too much to keep missing. But a lot of it, obviously, is getting better shots. The whole offense as a whole is running better. Jalen Adams is becoming a really, really great passer and finding guys in perfect spots. And, a lot of it has to do with the development of Kenton Facey and when Brown plays well. I mean, if your inside guys are playing well, teams have to focus on it. They collapse and they get open shots. And Purvis is getting open shots. For the most part, it's getting good shots and making them. And, obviously, he was struggling even making the easy ones early in the season. But, between his work and between getting better shots, they're just going in now. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Now, tomorrow is a rematch from a game earlier in the season. Memphis won that battle 70-61 back in January. The Tigers won the turnover battle that game 15-4, which played a major role in the outcome of that game. What do you think the Huskies need to do tomorrow in order to turn the tide a little bit, and what are the thoughts on the matchup as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The many turnovers is big. I mean, the fact Memphis forces a lot. They also committed you, too, but they certainly didn't that night. And it's odd for UConn. They were really never in the game, even though they dominated the boards. I mean, I think they won the rebound battle by 20-21, which is, incredible considering, the Lawson brothers and Memphis as a whole was a great rebounding team. So kind of an odd game in that way that, UConn just couldn't hold on to the ball. And the turnovers really killed them. And, you're down 20 in the second half. And, you got to make a rally. And they got single digits a little bit, but, they were never going to win that one. A different story, obviously, here. And Memphis maybe isn't playing quite as well. They didn't play that well at home to Temple, lost that one. But this is the key one. I mean, both teams want to stay kind of above that watermark of getting the bye in the league. And winner tomorrow, is fourth place in the league and, has a big leg up on securing that. So, I doubt it would be a blowout in either way. And, Loss will get his 20-10, I think, regardless. But limiting turnovers big and, winning the rebound battle again.
Yeah, and final question for Neill Ostrout of the Journal-Inquirer. You mentioned Memphis does sit in fourth place, about a half game ahead of the Huskies at 8-5 in the AAC. How important is it for UConn to get that top 5 seed and solidify a bye in this tournament, knowing that they're going to have to win this whole thing in order to get to where they want to get to?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, I think anybody can point to Kemba Walker and some of the teams that UConn's had in the past where have won, 4 games in 4 days and 5 games in 5 days in one instance. But it's really too much to ask, especially with a team with a relatively short bench. You can live on emotion, you can live on a lot of things for a few days, but winning 4 times in 4 days is just too much of a task, especially when you're probably going to have to play 1 or 2 games against SMU and Cincinnati. I mean, those are, on the border of difficult to impossible wins anyways. And asking a team to do it, consecutive nights, to win an NCAA berth, that's really too much. So getting the bye is huge, getting through that first round and, only having to play the 3 games, give them a chance. It's still an uphill battle, but they're hosting and they're playing better. And, SMU and Cincinnati, as good as they are, they're beatable. And, there's a glimmer of hope. There's a chance of doing it. But if you don't get the bye, it's almost down to single-digit percentage, or maybe even less.
All right, thanks, Neill. Definitely appreciate your time. Look forward to catching up with you down the line. And before we go, maybe give the listeners where they can find you, maybe online, on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Twitter is Neill Ostrout, Neill 2 L's. Nobody just remember that one. Journalinquirer.com. Keep following, message me, tweet me, annoy me. I love it all.
All right, thanks, Neill, and we'll definitely catch up with you, I think, tonight at the football event.
All right, Matt. Thanks.
That wraps up a short edition of UConn Sports Nation. I'll have much more coverage of last night's Meet the Coaches event from Rensselaer Field at thisisyuconncountry.com. Until next time, go Huskies. You're listening to UConn Sports Nation, presented by thisisyuconncountry.com, where you'll find the latest news, game previews, and recruiting when it comes to UConn football.